Hi, this is Joseph Tan here from goodmonday.com. We are working up the list of the 10 most unresolved issue threatening organizations today as specified by authors Roger Connors and Tom Smith. We started with program mighties, moving on to cross-functional strife, senior management development, poor performance, work and personal life balance, entitlement, misalignment, empowerment, people development, and right now we are capping it off with the number one issue threatening organizations today is poor communications. Now, I often hear of poor communication skills as the lament of many organizational leaders, but what is actually at the root cause of poor communications and what can we do about it? Do you know what's the number one killer of relationships? The number one killer of relationships is expectations. It's not just expectations per se, because if expectations is not communicated clearly and the delivery falls short of the expected expectations, then the gap between expectation and delivery, this is where poor communication happens. So the answer to addressing poor communication is to reduce what I call the expectation delivery gap. Somehow we need to communicate expectations in such a way that we minimize or eliminate this gap so that expectations equals delivery. The more deviation we have between these two, the poorer the level of communication. Well, here are the ABCs of minimizing the expectation delivery gap. First, A. A stands for actionable. Make sure that the expectation is communicated in specific, actionable description, not lofty concepts or philosophical wonderings, but specific, observable, and measurable steps that the other person is able to process and be on the same page with you as far as the action steps is concerned. Well, we all know situations where we have given specific action items and yet it is not followed. Now, this is because we are dealing with human beings, and human beings are driven by a sense of purpose. They are driven in terms of not only knowing what needs to be done, they need the why to be answered as well. That's why the second step here is to be able to identify a common belief. What is it that drives the other person? What motivates the other person? How does the person view the world around him or her? What does he or she believe in? What are the values that he or she would subscribe to? Appealing to a person's belief and purpose, answering the question why, can be very motivating so that the expectation is met in a more targeted way and in a way that is personally motivating. The danger is this: if we don't appeal to a person's belief and if we don't appeal to the why, what happens is that this person may interpret your expectation according to his own perspective and according to his own way of doing things, which might be in opposition with the actual why of what you want to do in the first place. The final step is to describe the consequence. Now, as human beings, we are driven by two factors. One is what we may gain from what we do. The other one is what we may potentially lose. So if the expectation is communicated in terms of its consequences, if you do this, this is what we will gain. If you don't do this, this is what we will lose. Then it will hit home a little bit closer. So while communicating your expectations, make sure that there is a level of consequence that is attached to it. Now, consequence can be both positive and negative. It need not be negative all the time. Most of the time, poor communication happens because our communication is only unidirectional. So we only communicate one way, and we do not take the time to process these three areas. We do not take the time to get feedback in terms of, do you understand the specific action? Do you believe in what we are doing? Are you clear about the consequences? Just taking time to go through and to process these three factors will really help to communicate your expectations through in a clear way. Now, being able to address these 3 points is what constitutes a clarifying conversation. So in improving the communication in the workplace, is not just only about delivering your thoughts. It's about spending time to get into a conversation mode to clarify the actions, whether if the person understands the why of what needs to be done, and also the consequences of doing or not doing what has been instructed. Time spent in going through the ABCs of minimizing the expectation and delivery gap is time worth investing in. Just because something needs to be done quickly doesn't excuse you from spending time in clarifying the ABCs of minimizing this gap. Invest time in conversing through these 3 steps, and you will find that poor communication could be a thing of the past, and it will no longer be an issue within your organization. Think about it. This is Joseph Tan from goodmonday.com. Thanks for watching.